Today we are on the Isle of Bute and we are at Mount Stuart, a massive sprawling estate and a massive opulent house. Welcome to Exploring Scotland's History. This is the second Mount Stuart we see today. The first was completed in 1719 by the second Marquess, but was severely damaged by fire in 1877. All the contents of the house, surprisingly, were saved though, and two wings of the original building. The third Marquess, who has cropped up in a couple of our Bute videos already, spent 21 years executing this design, a determination to live in a palace and not a mere house. And it was rumoured to be the first £1 million house. Mount Stuart was the first residence to benefit from electricity in Scotland, which enabled it to have an early telephone, a lift, central heating and the first domestic heated swimming pool. Now we will look at the Stuart history. Walter, the third High Steward of Scotland, held land on the Isle of Bute from as early as 1204. Queen Anne made Sir James Stuart, 3rd Baronet, to be Earl of Bute, Viscount Kingarth, Lord Mount Stuart, Cumra and Inchmurnock in 1703, and Mount Stuart had arrived. The Great Hall we see here is over 80 foot high and there are over 20 types of marble. The hall was utilised in World War I as a naval hospital and there was even an operating theatre. As we head up the stairs, right up at the top of the ceiling, we have the signs of the zodiac in human form and constellations painted into the ceiling itself with crystals. As we look at the architectural splendour and the display of wealth, it is quite natural to ask, where does someone amass this amount of wealth? The Stuarts were drawn towards power. Walter, the third High Steward of Scotland, married Marjorie, Robert the Bruce's daughter. Their son, Robert II, became the first Stuart king. There is a papal bull from as far back as 1158 documenting John Stuart as Officer Sheriff of Bute and Arran. The Stuarts occupied Rothesay Castle until it was destroyed in 1685. I'll put a link up to a video which includes the castle here. They then stayed at the mansion house close by until Mount Stuart was habitable. The fireplace in the dining room here is from the original building. The chandeliers came from Ireland. There are also paintings by Sir Henry Raeburn and Alan Ramsay. Really quite spectacular. But back to the Stuarts. The third Earl of Bute, who lived from 1713 to 1792, moved to London in 1745 and would become the first PM from Scotland under George III. He served a mere year at that post, 1762 to 1763. Post-politics, he lived out his life on his Hampshire estate. Even though retired, the Americans said he had a corrupting influence on the British government. Historian John Nash says the 18th century expression Jack Bute, meaning a stupid person, originated from the Earl's poor performance as a Prime Minister. He apparently left a substantial sum of money to Scottish universities after his death. The library is something else. There are books from the 1400s. Most of the collection can be traced back to the second Earl of Bute. There are early prints, 18th century Gallic pamphlets and hand-coloured atlases. There is even a 1584 book that predates the Rossley witch trials. It is entitled Discovery of Witchcraft by Reginald Scott. But back to the Stuarts. John Stuart, the 4th Earl, became the 1st Marquess of Bute. He lived from 1744 to 1814. He married into the Windsor family, his wife an heiress to estates in Glamorgan in Wales. She died from apoplexy in 1800, and his second wife was Frances Coutts of the famous banking family. The power is definitely strong here. He too served in the English Parliament, but already we can see how the wealth is accumulating, though it seems mostly from inheritance. This is the Horoscope room, the third Marquess's sitting room. The ceiling shows the planet alignment at the time of his birth. The Marquess used the conservatory as an observatory. During World War I, this is actually where the operating theatre was located. This is the family bedroom. A frieze around the top of the wall tells of the life of Queen Margaret and King Malcolm III of Scotland, from which the family descends. Queen Margaret is the only royal saint. This fantastically styled room was Lady Bute's room. The red silk wall covering is an original feature of the room. It was supposedly to match Lady Bute's rosy complexion. Her room in Cardiff Castle had the exact same material. I definitely think Martin would appreciate the craftsmanship of the shower over the bath. That's very funky. Now we look at the second Marquess of Bute. He lived from 1793 to 1848 and added Crichton to the family name in honour of his mother. Having inherited swathes of Wales, he became an industrialist, responsible for Bute docks in 1839 in Cardiff. He is called the creator of modern Cardiff, as the docks would push Cardiff to be the largest export dock for coal globally. His second marriage gained the family Loudon Castle in Ayrshire, and as the docks became more and more busy, he was able to put rents up. We see the wealth increasing here. This is the beautiful chapel that would have been built when the Butes converted to Catholicism. It is inspired by the St Vladimir Cathedral in Kiev. The cosmati flooring is very medieval and Italian. The same style can be seen in the Sistine Chapel and Westminster Abbey. On summer solstice, if the sun is shining, the reflection from the windows is said to look like the blood of Christ upon the steps. Wee bit of pop culture, Stella McCartney got hitched here. I have to say, the crypt is pretty cool. There's a modern art display in it of really, really big butterflies. Don't see any dead bodies. It's quite cool. I don't know. Cocoons, maybe? They look a wee bit wrong. Especially that guy. We'll go back to the butterflies. Now we look at the third Marquess of Bute, John Crichton Stewart. I think I've mentioned him in every video on Bute I've produced. He lived from 1847 to 1900. He was a mere 6 months old when his father died at Cardiff Castle, and it is rumoured he became the richest man in the world at that time. At 21, he converted to Catholicism and came into his fortune. He was responsible for the designs we see today in Mount Stuart, with many influences taken from his travels. He helped with the consolidation and refurbishment of many of the historic sites in Bute and further afield. His love of the Gothic style influenced him in Cardiff too, where the castle was transformed from a medieval fortress to an almost Welsh Camelot. The gardens are set into 300 acres. There are horticultural collections of global significance. There are handy labels actually on all these exotic plants, and they flourish here despite it not being tropical. But the labels are handy because now we can go and buy some of them. There's an arboretum and a pinetum which boasts 800 conifers. Mount Stuart was the first network garden as part of the International Conifer Conservation Programme to establish a seed bank for threatened species. Those who followed the third Marquess were largely born and educated in England. There is still wealth associated with the family, however, with the 7th Marquess achieving 616th on the Sunday Times Rich list in 2008. He was charged with breaking COVID travel rules just 3 months before his death in 2021. His son, now the 8th Marquess, is worth over £100 million. He is 33, single, and enjoys painting plastic Warhammer kits and walking his 2 dogs from his London flat. A far cry from his industrialist ancestors. Mount Stuart is still the traditional seat of the Crichton Stuarts, though it is now run by a trust. The last family member used it as a permanent home in 1989. Rock Garden was designed by the famous Victorian architect Thomas Mawson. The Asian plants were gathered by Jennifer Bute and the 6th Marquess. Mawson took inspiration from the garden at Calvary and the Via Dolorosa at the Old City of Jerusalem. Close by is this monument. It once sat in Luton Hoo Park, just outside London. So that was Mount Stuart, and it leaves us with various questions. I have to say, craftsmanship was absolutely stunning. The attention to detail, the intricacy in so many of the designs. But the opulence was bordering on vulgar. Bordering on whatever level above vulgar it could be. It really was quite a exclamation mark of we are wealthy. Obviously we have discussed the various earls and marquesses of Bute and the fact that they were quite active in assisting people in their community who may have been down on their luck. But the other question I would have, what percentage are we talking about here? Did we spend what in today's terms would be millions of pounds on one room in the house and then help 2 widows get fish carts for the Esplanade on Rothsay? I don't know. It's good that they do help folk. They're very much historically in a position to help folk. But I do wonder whether they are doing a little bit just to make it look good for the Joneses. Some beautiful art though. Some beautiful art. Alan Ramsey, my favourite artist really. And Henry Rayburn. Henry Rayburn's up there too. So, in conclusion, the Stuarts and Crichton Stuarts appear to have made their fortune through a series of power marriages. Where giving back to the community is concerned, I feel that it maybe was on a smaller scale than other historic rich list individuals. Take Andrew Carnegie for instance, who gave away 70% of his wealth in later years. And my question on the thumbnail? Such powerful alliances were made over the generations. In my opinion, the Stuarts really were a dynasty as opposed to a clan. If you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe and leave a comment. It really helps the channel grow. I would like to thank everyone who contributes to the coffee page. It does help us pay entry into some of these places. Until next time, thank you for watching.